This is Rebecca from CHAMPS, and I'm going to host the webinar, and we have 3 speakers that are going to be talking today about their experiences with audit tools. First, we're going to have Alice Cheney Herndon from University of Mississippi Medical Center, and then Shannon Grosh from Toro Infirmary, and then Marcy McCoy from Baptist Memorial Hospital, North Mississippi. And we just wanted to quickly remind everyone to mute your line, and you can do that by pressing *6 when you're not talking, and then unmute, you hit pound. We also want to remind you not to press hold, because if you have hold music, then everyone will hear it. Okay, let's get started. First, we have just a quick announcement from CHAMPS that we have a couple of 4-hour clinical skills trainings coming up. We have a couple next week at St. Tammany Parish Hospital in Louisiana, and we have one in January at Baptist Memorial Hospital, Union County in New Albany, Mississippi. And you can register and find some more information on those trainings on our website on our events page. All right, so let's just get right into it. Our first speaker is Alice Cheney Herndon from University of Mississippi Medical Center. And I think I can pass the privileges to you, Alice, and then you'll be able to switch the slides.
Okay, perfect. Okay. Well, hey, everyone. My name is Alice Cheney Herndon, and like Rebecca said, I'm the nurse manager of the Mother-Baby Unit at the University of Mississippi Medical Center. I have been in my role about a year and a half. So I have been at UMC for about 12 years, but I've been in this current role for about a year and a half. So let's see if I can work this. Okay, so just to give you a little bit of a background about UMC, we are the only academic teaching facility in the state. We have the only level 4 NICU in the state. We have 102 beds. We also have a 15-bed intermediate care nursery, as well as we still have a traditional nursery. We have a 31-bed mother-baby unit. We have, in our labor and delivery area, we actually have 10 LDR rooms. We have 3 rooms that are specifically for observation in L&D, and then we also have 2 operating rooms that are specifically reserved for OB patients. No one else operates in those rooms. In addition to that, we have 3 prenatal hospital-based clinics, and we also have 1 resident-based clinic. So these clinics are throughout the Jackson metro area. In addition to these clinics, we have numerous health departments that send their patients here to UMC, and they deliver with us. I'm trying to go to the next slide. Okay, there we go. So before our baby-friendly journey, just to give you a little bit of history about how UMC was designed, we had separate units for everything. We had an antepartum unit, we had a postpartum unit, and then we had the nursery for babies. All of the babies that were born, regardless of whether or not they were healthy, they all went through transition nursery, unless specifically requested by the mother. So if mom wanted the baby to stay with her and wanted skin to skin, those were things that mom had to specifically request. And then we had to figure out, okay, how are we going to staff for that? Because that was not something that we routinely offered. In addition to that, the postpartum nurses only took care of moms. Now, babies could be in the nursery and they could come out to mom's room, but a nursery nurse still provided care for the baby, and then we had a postpartum nurse that provided care for the mother. Infants did primarily stay in the newborn nursery. They just only went out to mom's room, really, if mom requested, but it was very routine for us to send babies back to the nursery at night so that mom could sleep and the nursery nurses would take care of the babies. So after we started our baby-friendly journey, it's been a huge culture change for us. We actually had to completely renovate 3 Weiser, which is the mother-baby unit. So this unit was shut down, and the the patients moved to 4-Wiser while 3-Wiser was renovated, and then we moved everybody back to 3-Wiser. So that was a huge undertaking, was to be able to try to make room for moms and babies in the room together. In addition to that, we have added transition nurses. This was a new position that we created in March of this year. This was something that after looking at our audit results, we saw that there were areas that we were falling out on left and right, and so we developed this position. These transition nurses are responsible for going to the deliveries after the baby has been out about 30 minutes. Skin-to-skin is already initiated. That has been initiated by the nurse that attends the delivery from either a high-risk nurse or either a low-risk nurse. They will attend the delivery and they will initiate skin-to-skin. The transition nurse comes in and helps maintain skin-to-skin, will help initiate breastfeeding, will do everything that that mom and baby needs in the room together, and this has been instrumental in helping us keep infants and moms together. The transition nurse, they are trained to do that, as well as the L&D staff. Oftentimes we have multiple deliveries going on at once, and the transition nurse will just oversee that, and the L&D nurses will actually begin the in-room transition in L&D before they come up to 3-Wiser. In addition to that, we had to train all of they were considered postpartum nurses, and now they're considered mother-baby unit nurses, but they had to learn how to take care of babies because they didn't know pediatric population. So the nurses in the nursery actually trained them. They went and shadowed and oriented with them and got hands-on training, in addition to go into the classroom and learning things that they needed to know about normal newborn care. Also, due to our audit results, we have worked tirelessly on Epic. I don't know if anybody else uses Epic that's on the line, but that's been a huge undertaking for us to incorporate all the changes that needed to be made within our electronic health record to be able to speak to what we are doing. So audits for UMC. Again, because of our prenatal clinics that feed into us, we do inpatient audits, and then we also do clinic audits. So what we have been doing is roughly 30 a month on the inpatient side, and then 30 a month on the outpatient side. The nurses at the clinics are the ones that actually speak to the moms in the clinics, ask them the questions, and fill out the audit tool that's provided by Baby Friendly. And then we have a nurse on the inpatient side who she goes in and meets with the moms in the room and talks to them about their experience and asks the questions on the audit tools. Then what she does is she compiles all of the data and puts it together in the spreadsheet that's provided by Baby Friendly to come up with the total number of patients interviewed, and then the percentage of correct response. And then we have a mother-baby work group that meets every other Friday, and that's where the results are presented. And it's presented to the leaders of the team. So we have educators from L&D, from the mother-baby unit, from the nursery, as well as those managers. We also have lactation nurses that are on that team. We have an administrator that's on the team. So all of the audit results are presented to the team so that we can know areas that we really need to focus on, what are we doing well, and what do we need to improve. Two of the main things that we have seen from the audit tool, we needed to work on our skin-to-skin initiation rates. When we initially started this baby-friendly process, we were very skeptical of the skin-to-skin. And I say that because when we had somebody that would attend delivery, the nurse would immediately take the baby over to the warmer, dry the baby off, stimulate the baby, assess the baby before wrapping the baby up and giving the baby back to mom. So when we started, we said, okay, well, let's do skin-to-skin within 5 minutes and see what those rates are, and then initiating skin-to-skin within 10 minutes and seeing what those rates are. So when we started, we had 0% that were going skin-to-skin in the OR after mom was stable. And I'm happy to say that we're up to 80% on that. We decided that we had to get rid of the going skin-to-skin within 5 minutes and skin-to-skin within 10 minutes. We had to do immediate skin-to-skin. So that was a huge thing that we changed based on our audit results. Another thing that we're really looking at is cue-based feeding. Our mamas are just not getting that. They are telling a time frame when we go in and ask, how often are you feeding your baby? And they will give us a time frame instead of noting hunger cues. So that is an area that we are still struggling with and that we are working on. So lessons learned. I feel like, unfortunately, we may have started a little backwards, and we should have started with our prenatal clinics since we have so many clinics that feed into us. That education is vital, and had we started with the prenatal clinics instead of starting on the inpatient side, I think we would have had the upper hand, but we're kind of backtracking. So we do have the clinics on board, and they've been tremendous in getting the moms educated. Another thing that's really important is to have buy-in from both OB and PEDS. Again, this has been a huge culture change for us. When we initially started, I feel like more of the pediatricians were on board than the obstetricians, but we do have an OB physician on our team as well as a pediatrician, an actual neonatologist on our team, and they have been instrumental in helping us get this process moving forward, and they are completely supportive of the baby-friendly process. Again, just remember to use your audit tools to focus on areas of needed change and improvement. Once you compile those numbers, put your heads together and say, okay, this number is terrible. What do we need to do about this? How can we make this better? Or this number is really good. What did we do? How do we change things to make this better? And then another thing that has been great for us is due to our patient population, we've had to develop numerous different educational tools. So we use videos. We also use handouts. We talk to our patients face-to-face. A lot of ours learn best just by having, that one-on-one conversation. So, again, just continue to develop educational tools as you're going through your process. And then last, if I can get this to go. There we go. So our next steps is just to continue to work on documentation improvement. We actually had a mock assessment back in November, and there are some areas that we need to work on there. We are trying to schedule our readiness call within the next 30 days, and then hopefully we will have a site visit in the spring. So that is it for me. Does anybody have any questions? Or are we moving on, Rebecca?
If anyone has any questions now, we can.
I just have one question.
Sure.
I have one question.
Okay.
When your skin-to-skin documentation, does
Yes.
that live in the mother's chart or in the baby's record?
It lives in the mother's chart, but it pulls into the baby's chart. And so what we do is we chart a time of skin-to-skin initiation and then a time of separation. But it is documented in the mother's chart once initiation is started in labor and delivery. But it does pull into the infant's chart.
Who does the documentation for the cessation of skin-to-skin? Is it a labor nurse or is it a nursery nurse?
So that's a good question. It really just depends. Oftentimes it's my transition nurse that does that. Will chart the time that skin-to-skin ends.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
I have a question.
Okay.
Okay. I'm Jan Waddell from St. Tammany Parish Hospital, and in Covington, Louisiana, and we do have EPIC charting. One of the things that I'm noticing, I just started doing audits. One of the things I'm noticing with the documentation on the C-sections, and I'm kind of questioning that, is that oftentimes they'll put that the baby was placed in immediate skin to skin. And that may fulfill Baby Friendly's definition as far as soon as mother and baby are both stable and capable. But I find the nurses aren't listing a specific time when it was initiated. In other words, they're putting it down as the birth time. And so my question is this: how specific do you think Baby Friendly is going to be? We do not initiate on the OR table, because that's been a big bone of contention here. But we do initiate as soon as mother is awake and stable, typically as soon as she gets to the recovery room.
Right, and that's what we're doing as well. If mom is alert and awake on the OR table, it is very tricky. The transition nurses have really, that's been a struggle for them, is to keep baby safely on mom while she's laying down on the OR table. So what we did, we had to build in a spot to put an actual time. And we do a time of initiation and then a time of separation, and then Epic actually calculates the total time skin to skin.
Okay, so
does that help?
You do the actual time. You don't go by the birth time when you're saying a C-section's done, immediate skin to skin.
No, ma'am, because none of ours go directly to mom's chest in the OR.
Right. Okay. All right. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
I have a quick question for you. My name is Robin. I'm a PI coordinator for Ochsner Health System. I wanted to know, how long have you guys been doing your audits? And then my second question is, when you had the phone call in D4, you know, how much do they get into the details regarding the data from the audit?
So we started doing audits in August of 2014 is when we actually started doing the audits. The readiness assessment phone call, is that what you're asking?
Yes, yes.
To be perfectly honest, I do not remember how detailed. We had a readiness assessment call last year, and we knew we weren't ready, but we went through with the call. I do know that they tell you to allow up to 2 hours and to have all of your most recent data with you. I do remember them asking specifics, so I know you need to have all of that compiled and with you, but I don't remember exactly how detailed they got and exactly what questions they asked.
Okay, and then with the prenatal clinic, with your audits, what's your biggest opportunity there?
I think probably our biggest opportunity there that moms really need to work on being able to tell us benefits of breastfeeding, to be able to spit those out, and as well as the cue-based feeding. Again, that is an area that we really struggle with, is the cue-based feeding, and them not saying, you know, feed your baby every 3 to 4 hours.
Wonderful. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Great. Thanks for all your questions, everyone. We're going to move on now to our next presenter, Shannon, and I'll scroll all the way down to the bottom of this list to find your name. Okay. Okay, you should be able to.
Okay, thank you. My name is Shannon Grosh. I'm one of the lactation consultants here at Toro. I'm happy to be here. Thank y'all for having me. So Toro Hospital is located in New Orleans. We were recently designated a gift facility, which we're very excited about that. We were designated in October of 2016 this year. And we were recently also named Hospital of the Week by CHAMPS. We are on D3 on the baby-friendly pathway, and we plan to move into D4 in the first quarter of 2017. So at Toro, we have a large number of births a year, over 3,000. We have a level 3 in ICU. We have 15 labor and delivery rooms, and we have learned a lot from using these baby-friendly audit tools, especially with the large number of patients that we have. The GIFT audit tools were the first tools that we started using. We started using these tools about 8 months ago, and they were very beneficial. We were doing about 30 audits per month, and nearly all of our patients were either breast or breast formula feeding mothers. So we weren't really doing, the audits with moms who were strictly formula feeding or mothers who had babies in their in the NICU here. So our results showed that our patients needed more education in certain areas. So feeding 8 or more times within a 24-hour period, pacifier use, which we don't have pacifiers on our unit, but, moms would bring those pacifiers from home, and so we wanted to further educate them on that, along with skin-to-skin, mothers who were going to formula feed, preparing formula, and so forth. So the education started with our staff. The lactation consultants began attending staff meetings to further educate the staff on what our patients were needing. So again, with the gift designation, this was so beneficial to us because it got us ready, and it helped us on this baby-friendly journey. So with the gift designation, we were focusing on those 10 steps and making sure that we were adhering to the 10 steps. And Marcy and her team were so great in assisting us with any needs that we had to, to get to this designation. The gift designation requires that we meet national quality standards and measures. The gift is a program of the Louisiana Department of Health, the Office of Public Health, and the Bureau of Family Health. So the next image is our newly renovated Family Birthing Center waiting area at Toro. So how this all got started, and I'll get into what we're doing right now. CHAMPS had a site visit at Toro in July of 2016. So Kirsten Crane and Cammie Goldhammer met with our baby-friendly team. So members of the team and Cammie and Kirsten utilized these baby-friendly audit tools that we hadn't been using before because we were really focused on those gift tools, which were a great start. So we, that day, interviewed patients. So we didn't just interview our breastfeeding or breast formula feeding mothers, but we expanded that to our NICU moms, or moms who were strictly formula feeding. And then we came back to the table after and we discussed the results that we had gotten. After that point is when we started using the baby-friendly audit tools at Toro. The gift audit tools were very beneficial again. I feel like the baby-friendly audit tools are a bit more thorough. They are more time-consuming, but, we've learned a lot from them. They've helped us reach a broader population of moms, not just those breast or breast formula feeding mothers. So right now we're doing approximately 5 audits a week, and the patients gave similar feedback regarding the need for more prenatal education. So we found that the patients really weren't using those We're Prepared checklists that they were getting in the lactation classes, in the prenatal classes, and in the OB packets that we give out in the clinics. And the co-effective tools weren't being used as we had intended them to be used as well. So one huge thing that we learned was the need for the further prenatal education. So we developed a plan. As a result of the audit tools, we found that the patients needed more education in the clinics to better prepare them for their hospital birth experience and feeding preferences. So along with the questions in the audit tools, I also, when speaking with the patients, would talk to them about the first time they learned about, certain topics such as skin to skin or, pacifier use, supplementing, and I would, ask them, when's the first time you heard about this? And, most of them, it was either, the prenatal class or their lactation class, not a whole lot in the clinic, and not a whole lot from the medical assistants, nurse techs or nurses, in the clinic. So we realized that with the education, we had to start with the people that should be doing the educating. So I began meeting with our unit supervisors here to develop the plan, and that's Kim Faut and Tanya Robinson. So we hired another full-time lactation consultant to manage the patients so that I could go into the clinics and educate the patients and the clinic staff. What was really useful for me was attending the GIFT Regional Collaborative meeting in October. At the meeting, a lactation consultant from Ochsner West Bank gave a presentation on how they're educating their patients and staff in their prenatal clinics. So that's what kind of got the ball rolling and, really helped me prepare and plan for what I was going to do. So the next steps were I met with the supervisors of the prenatal clinics, and this was about 2 weeks ago. So all this is pretty new. And I discussed the plan to go into the clinics and educate the patients and the staff. Initially, and then, we're going to broaden that to me actually going into the clinics and educating the patients myself as well. So I met with Dr. Dutrell, after that the lead OB physician at Toro, and I discussed my plan with him. He was very receptive and supportive. So then I met with the supervisors of all of the CCPI clinics and discussed Toro's baby-friendly audit tool findings and the need for further education in the clinics. And they were so excited about it. I didn't know what kind of reception that I was going to get with the supervisors, but they were, extremely receptive, excited, welcomed me into their clinics, and, I couldn't be more appreciative and happy about that. The supervisors agreed that the patients do need more education on topics like, labor plans, rooming in, skin to skin, feeding preferences, breastfeeding and supplementation. The We're Prepared checklist, they weren't even really that familiar with the checklist, how to educate. They didn't have any literature to go along with the topics. So that's where I came in. So I met with each prenatal clinic over the past week, 2 weeks, and that'll continue through December and mid-January. And so I sat down with the nurse techs, medical assistants and nurses, and with each clinic I would present a PowerPoint presentation explaining, first of all, what baby-friendly is, because they really had no idea what baby-friendly was. And then I showed them the We're Prepared checklist and explained to them what that was, what it was for, you know, in the areas of education on the checklist. So then what I did was with each area on the checklist, I had a color-coded folder that matched the checklist. And so in those color-coded folders, I have education on that topic. So for instance, fall in love, that folder is red. And the information in that folder, there's literature on skin to skin. So, so that way we know that the patients are being educated on each topic. I'm spending time shadowing the nurses and the techs to demonstrate the process and the education with the patients. So again, you know, with these folders, the color-coded folders are labeled also by gestational weeks. So it's very simple. So when the patient, for instance, walks up to the scale, next to the scale, there's color-coded folders. The initial visit, the mother will take the motivational document out of that folder, and then she'll go into the exam room. The nurse or medical assistant or whoever it may be will go in there, and as she's just as simple as taking a blood pressure, she can say, even if it's 1 or 2 words about that motivational document. First of all, we know that the patient's getting the document, and secondly, she's, you know, able to look at it while she's in the exam room waiting for the physician, and she's getting some education on it. So the next folder that we have is 12 to 16 weeks. So the patient will grab that one. That's the We're Prepared checklist, Build My Team. So the nurse or tech asks the patient to fill out that top portion of Build My Team. 12 to 16 weeks, again, fall in love, and so forth. So you can see that by the time the patient is 32 weeks, she should have been educated on everything from this We're Prepared checklist. One big question that I have from the physicians and, you know, the nurses and the assistants is, are they really going to keep this checklist with them their entire pregnancy? Because, you know, they tell me that the patients are going to lose it, and I totally get that. And what I've told them all is, even if you never see their checklist again, you know that by the time they are 32 weeks, that they have gotten educated on everything because of the process that we're doing. And so then at 35 to 40 weeks, again, we give them that motivational document that kind of sums up everything that we've done. Another thing that that I've recently implemented actually in the hospital and in the clinics is the QR code for the Cofective app. A lot of people weren't using this Cofective app. They weren't telling their patients about it. They weren't really educated about it. So what I did was I got that QR code, and I made, you know, hundreds of copies of it, and just in tiny little squares. So I laminated that, and I taped that to everybody's badge in the hospital and in the clinics. So now, you know, everyone is educated on this QR code in the app. And then secondly, it's so convenient for the patients just to scan that you know, the QR code, had that app downloaded. The nurses and the assistants in the clinics were very excited about this because, like they said, patients are always on their phones. This is something they'll definitely look at. So that was definitely one thing that was, you know, that I learned recently that I think is going to work, and people will utilize that, that app even more. So here is an example. It's so simple, the We're Prepared checklist with these color-coded folders, and I think that that is what's working so well in the clinics. Why it's working is because it's so simple. And it's, you know, everything kind of explains itself. It's the patients are the ones who are, you know, who are taking their education. If they're looking at it in the exam room, if for some reason the nurse or the assistant doesn't say a few points about that sheet, they've still gotten the education. So, you know, it doesn't create any extra work for the clinic staff. There's no extra work involved. I'm even, you know, going to go to the clinics and refill these folders. So, and really the response that I've gotten is like, is this for real? What's in this for you? Are you going to go away ever? Like, I've not gotten any negative responses at all. So in this education, I kind of went ahead of myself, the process in the clinics, again, the folders and patients, you know, taking their literature and so forth. So we've kind of gone through that. So in conclusion, the baby-friendly audit tools really made us aware of the need for more prenatal education. So this process has begun now in December and will be ongoing. And I'm really excited to follow up with y'all in the future and let you know, what other things that I've learned and the response that I've been getting. And this response from the physicians thus far has been positive. I think one big thing is as long as you don't slow them down in the clinics, they're okay. And you know, I definitely have not slowed them down, and they love that their patients are getting this education. They love it. So thank y'all. Any questions?
Well, Dr. Morris is your doctor, but Charles recommending therapy. We have a question here from Olive Branch. Did you all create your own checklist, or was this like a template that you received from CHAMPS possibly that you tweaked to your facility?
That's yes, that's what we received. The checklist is part of the COEFFECTIVE tools.
Oh, okay. And you gain access to those in different aspects of the 4D pathway?
Yes, absolutely. We gained access to that, I believe, in D2.
This is Kirsten. I'm going to just jump in real quick. I think that there's a little bit of a misunderstanding. So the checklist that Shannon's referring to is a product of an organization called COEFFECTIVE. And there's a free app, so you can use some portions of the COEFFECTIVE products for free. And if the app is one of the free products, right, Shannon? And then there are portions of their products that you can pay for to use, so like some printed handouts. But those don't come with Baby Friendly. Those are like a separate company that does patient education materials for hospitals that want to be baby friendly that are just really beautiful materials that are already put together for them.
So we started using, thank you so much, Kirsten, we started using these tools in D2, but the tools are actually available through COEFFECTIVE.
Okay, and let me just make sure I'm correct on this. They are baby-friendly aligned?
They're not distributed by Baby Friendly, but yes, they are Baby Friendly aligned, yes.
Yeah, absolutely. He made them with the intention of them being baby friendly aligned. So they are absolutely really nice materials.
Yes.
Okay.
I guess my question is, if MFM is requested.
Does anybody else have any questions or anything?
Okay, we can take some more questions at the end if people think of anything. Thanks, Shannon. We're just going to move on to our last presenter, Marcy McCoy from Baptist Memorial Hospital in North Mississippi. So I think I already gave you the presenter privileges. Okay.
All right.
Go ahead.
Hi, everybody. My name is Marcy McCoy. I am one of the quality facilitators for North Mississippi, and I've been working on the Baby Friendly project as we've traveled along our journey. And it has been interesting. I think we are behind everybody that's on the call right now, but we are located in Oxford, Mississippi. We're a 217-bed acute care facility. We serve the northern one-third of Mississippi. We have 60 to 80 births per month here. We began our baby-friendly journey with discovery September 14th, 2015, and we are currently also in D3. We began that phase in June of 2016. We are going to be moving into a new facility next year, beginning in October. So we hope to move into D4 before June of this coming year, and hopefully be ready to move forward in February. That move is going to cause a lot of redo for us. So we realized pretty soon that we're going to have to make sure that we have our processes on point prior to the move so that we can recreate that in a rapid fashion to meet our 80% and make sure everything is baby friendly. So audit tools. We began our audits in August, so not very long after we moved into dissemination, because we did know that we needed to go ahead and know exactly where we were. Like every experiment, which is what we are doing when we do audits, is experimenting to see where we are, you learn, and we've learned a lot. First, we had to determine how were we going to audit. Since we do have 60 to 80 births a month, we decided we need at least 10 to 15% sample to start. So we have 8 to 10 audits per month, and we'll probably increase those, especially now that we've made some major changes and we're getting kind of to the nitty-gritty. So we do 2 to 3 a week, and we had to decide who was going to do these and who we were going to audit. We knew that we needed to audit random sampled mothers, both C-section moms, vaginal delivery moms, breastfeeding moms, and formula feeding moms. And we knew that we needed to stick with the same people performing the audits so that we didn't have variability other than the patient's answers. So we have our lactation consultant who does a lot of these audits, and she has perfected her skills. That was part of a lot of what our learning was how to do the audits, because they are very in-depth, and they are what you put into them. So we had to decide when we were going to do the audits. A lot of our education for our mothers is done at discharge. We try to educate in kind of groupings throughout their process here, but at discharge there is a lot of education, so we wanted to make sure that we captured that. So we try to do it as close to the day of discharge as we can so we can capture as much as we can. And we have started with audit tools with step number 6, then the audit tool 4 and 7, and the audit tool step 5, 8, 9, and 10. And we do these in patient's room and try to schedule them around, because we do have our quiet time from 1 to 3. We try to schedule them in the late morning and in the late afternoon. Okay, so we conduct our in-person audits, and we look at those and then put those in our chart and share that data, and we also abstract our charted data for CHAMPS. When we had our CHAMPS site visit, we learned a whole lot. A lot of what we learned was, why is our CHAMPS data not really coinciding with our in-person audit data? Like I said, our in-person audit data is what you make from it. So we learned that we need to have a much deeper dive in our verbal audits, the same way that Baby Friendly will when they do come. Because if you ask a black and white question and don't really get into the nuances of what the mothers are saying and follow their lead and go deeper and deeper and deeper, you're not going to get true audits. We also learned that we need to set a line in the sand for a lot of these initiatives. There was kind of a disconnect between this is our go-live date with physicians and this is what nursing is doing and educating for. So our percentages and numbers weren't progressing the way that we wanted them to, because we just needed that line in the sand date, and we did. We also realized that we needed to identify where and how nurses would chart education for skin-to-skin, rooming in, and pacifiers. What you learn in doing the audits is an incredible need for education, for the mothers. We do not have any affiliated clinics, so we have to work with the clinics in the capacity that we can to try to get as much information to the mothers as we can, as allowed, and we're trying to grow that. So the education is what we needed. What we decided to do was we needed to have a way to compare the education that the mothers were giving us and to make sure that the nursing was giving consistent, clear, baby-friendly verbiage to the mothers, and then it could just be expounded on. So what we did was we used Epic, or to the extent that we thought that we could. So one thing we did was we came up with scripting for skin-to-skin, for rooming in, for pacifier use, for breastfeeding, and feeding cues. This scripting is verbiage that we have printed out, laminated on every WOW for every L&D and every postpartum for all of our nurses. We also created some smart text, that comes in with Epic that has this education in there that can be changed, but it pre-fills what the same thing that is on the laminated cards for the nurses. So we're able to chart and abstract and watch when the education was done and what percentage we're getting on our mother's feedback with the correct information because feeding cues was so difficult for us. So having those smart texts is helpful, and we're just now being able to see connections between smart text usage and verbal audit results. So that's been very good. The other thing that we're working on with Epic when it comes to a lot of the education is written and verbal instruction for formula feeding moms. We're focusing on the breastfeeding moms, and we realized that that was something that we need to focus on because they're going home, and the written instruction, I think, was a lot. It's lacking in Epic. It's not exactly baby-friendly. So we're working with our physicians, coming up with some smart phrases that they can put in for education that isn't necessarily in your other documents tab for your education, but it has your feeding cues, written instructions for formula preparation. We're coming up with two versions, one that will be for breastfeeding moms and one that will be for formula feeding moms. Now, the major thing we did when we did our hard line on our skin-to-skin was that immediate skin-to-skin. Again, it was just like what everyone else is saying, is it a 5-minute window that makes a difference? What is it that is between us and that skin-to-skin? Is it the weight? And what we discovered was that was a major thing in front of us. It was a major obstacle because the physicians wanted to have the weight in the delivery chart before they were able to close it. So what we did was we actually had to remove the scales from the delivery room, and they're able to sign that note the following day. Removing the scales allowed all of that to fall into place. What we did find in Epic, though, was that the delivery time, the weight will auto chart as a delivery time the following day, but it says that it's an auto chart. So we still have the nursery nurse charting the correct time. We're able to see that. Once we removed the scales from the delivery room, we were able to do immediate skin-to-skin. And our nursery nurse owns skin-to-skin. they chart at begin and they chart it at the end. Our next steps is we're going to begin 100% skin-to-skin for C-sections starting in January 1st. We're already doing that in recovery, and we have to get approval from anesthesia for each case, but we're going to begin that in January. The second thing we're going to have to do is our pacifiers. We're placing an Omnicell this month because they are we've discovered they are kind of like mice. We don't know where they come from. So we're going to go ahead and put those in the Omnicell so that we can keep a better record of those. Big thing that we're doing, again, we saw the need for education. We're updating our online marketing links with information reflecting our baby-friendly status. So pacifier use, rooming in, skin-to-skin, and bottle feeding, breastfeeding. All of that is going to be on our marketing materials, and we're also creating, with the help of the clinics and several of the physicians that have given a whole lot of interest here, materials with all of that. So prenatally they can have all the same things and know what to expect when they come in. And we're going to continue our efforts for physician education and corporate formula purchasing contract, which should be done in January as well. So we've learned a lot, and what we learned initially was that our audit results were nearing 100% when our data in the chart was nearing 10 or 20%. Now that we've made our hard line and we've worked on a lot of our charting and a lot of ways that we can validate some of these things being done, our charting is 100%, and now we're really able to section out what we need to work on from these verbal audits. Now is when they're incredibly important. So we kind of went back and forth, and now we're to the nitty-gritty, and we're learning a lot from our verbal audits.
Great, thank you, Marcy. That was all of our speakers. Does anyone have any questions for Marcy or for any of the speakers? Maybe some people are still thinking, but we're planning some upcoming webinars in the new year. We're going to be actually starting to plan them today. So keep a lookout for your email and on the website for those. And the slides are already up on our website, and so there will also be a recording of this webinar uploaded to the website this afternoon. So you can find that at champsbreastfeed.org/webinar. I just wanted to thank all of our speakers for presenting and for everyone for joining. If anyone has any questions to ask, or if they think of something else, they can also email CHAMPS and we can direct it to any of the speakers. Any last minute questions, anyone? All right, thanks everyone for joining. We'll talk to you another time.